In the third year of forcing Matthew to stay with me, I was diagnosed with cancer. The surgery required a family member's signature, but I didn't have any family left, only Matthew. When I called him, a cold laugh came through the receiver. "Joseph, you'd better die out there." I gave a soft laugh of my own and said quietly, "Sure. Just make sure you don't come looking for me when it happens." My phone was accidentally on speaker. In less than 30 seconds, the entire consultation room heard our exchange. I gave the doctor an apologetic smile, stood up, and walked out. My assistant followed carefully, then spoke in a cautious tone. "That voice just now, it didn't sound like Matthew." Stopping by a trash can, I pulled the medical report from his hand, tossed it in, and replied coolly, "I know. Matthew's too well-bred to say something that vicious. At worst, he'd frown helplessly and scold me with, 'Joseph, stop making trouble.'" The thought made me smile for no reason. Matthew must have assumed this was just another one of my tricks. The timing was too perfect. He'd just gone to visit David, who had a fever, and then I told him I had cancer. He probably thought I'd sunk to a new low, which is why he let David answer the phone for him. Of course, I knew he was listening in nearby. That's why I still told them not to come find me when the day came. Before hanging up, I even added, "Don't worry, give it 3 months at most, and I'll hand him back to you." That line was for David. A little hope for him. I suppose, after all, he's my little brother. Leaving the hospital, I suddenly felt a weight on my shoulders. I turned my head and found an extra coat draped over me. The wind outside was strong, whipping Ryan's tie against his chest. My eyes moved upward past his sharp, steady features, still calm as ever. I'd heard the girls at the office gossip. Ryan was tall, handsome, and came from money, so no one understood why he'd work as someone else's assistant. "Ryan, how long have you been with me?" "Just shy of 3 years. 1 month to go." 3 years. I couldn't help but laugh. I'd thought he was just some spoiled rich kid playing at real life. Didn't expect him to last this long. I shrugged the coat off and put it back on his shoulders as we walked. "So, what's your next move?" When he stayed silent for several seconds, I teased, "Planning to work for another company? I could write you a glowing reference." Warmth brushed across my back. The coat was back on me again. "I'm not leaving." I glanced sideways at him without slowing my pace. "Not leaving? What for? Planning to stick around just to pick up my corpse?" "I know overseas. What did you just call me?" I turned my head, my expression flat. Ryan met my gaze for 2 seconds before lowering his lashes and replying respectfully with 2 words. I smiled, nodded, and patted his shoulder. "Let's keep it strictly professional." "Okay." Ryan's dark eyes brimmed with unsaid words, but in the end, he just dropped his head and muttered, "Okay." Matthew stayed at David's bedside for 3 straight days. On the 4th day, I came home from work to the same empty, silent apartment. I typed out a message. "I want to see you within 2 hours. If not, I'll go straight to David." After sending it, I tossed my phone aside and grabbed a few bottles of liquor from the cabinet. Matthew hated it when I ordered him around, and he despised me threatening him with David. But soft words had never worked, so what else could I do? If I had to burn bridges, so be it. Joseph will stop at nothing to get what he wants. That was Matthew's assessment of me, and he wasn't wrong. The first time I met Matthew was at the hospital. I'd gone to visit my bedridden father. My stepmother called me an ungrateful bastard and tried to throw boiling water in my face. But someone blocked it for me. Matthew had only been there to visit David. Seeing the scene, he'd grabbed me, pulled me behind him, and took the scalding water on the back of his own neck. It was summer, and his skin turned an angry red almost instantly. David glared at me like he wanted to set me on fire, while Matthew tried to smooth things over. His voice calm, his manners impeccable. When you've been stuck in a dark, rotten well long enough, someone like him, clean, bright as moonlight, gets under your skin. Later, I looked into him and found David had a crush on him too. That just made me even more determined to steal him away. But Matthew told me outright he preferred David's type. David. I rolled the name around in my mouth, then canceled his credit card. By then I'd already driven my father's company into bankruptcy. David, spoiled from birth, couldn't survive without money. He even paid people to write his graduate papers. Predictably, he broke up with Matthew. What I didn't expect was Matthew telling David he'd take care of him, that as a chemistry PhD, he could sell patents to support him. So they got back together. David even strutted around in front of me, showing off for weeks. But that didn't matter. David's mother still depended on me financially. I gave him two options: go abroad and stay in school, or I'd have his mother committed to a psychiatric ward. David chose to leave and demanded a huge tuition fee on his way out. I paid it. Consider it hush money. After the breakup, Matthew was still miserable. I found him at a bar, drunk, and took him to a hotel. He really must have been heartbroken. He held me and called me David. I slapped him, pressed my heel to his weak spot, and forced him to say my name over and over. When he sobered up, I climbed on top of him. Matthew's sharp. He soon figured out David hadn't left on his own. That was day one of keeping him captive. He snapped his restraints in rage and threw all his hatred at me. No joke, I was bedridden for 2 days afterward. Matthew's a tough nut to crack. But his weakness is that he still has a conscience. Because I funded his research, upgraded his lab, and paid for the best doctors for his sick parents, he finally gave in and moved in with me. After that, his attitude was always lukewarm, never warm, never cold. Didn't matter. In bed, it was all heat. If I couldn't have Matthew's heart, at least I had his body. A month ago, David came back to the country. Matthew knew, but didn't go see him. For a moment, I foolishly thought I might hold him forever. But a few days ago, when David caught a cold, Matthew dropped everything and rushed to his side. See, someone you've truly loved is different. 3. The memories cut off abruptly. I was just about to open another bottle when the keypad at the door beeped. In an instant, the pitch-dark living room flooded with light. The brightness was sharp enough to make me raise my hand to block it. When I lowered my arm, I caught sight of Matthew's frown of disgust. He stood over me, gaze skimming past the empty bottles at my side, and his brow furrowed even deeper. Once, I'd have cursed him out for walking in with that expression. Now my heart was still, like water gone stagnant. I reached for the bottle again, but Matthew yanked me to my feet by the arm. I swayed twice before steadying myself and asked casually, "How's my dear little brother doing?" Matthew said nothing, as though he'd taken a vow of silence. I tilted my head and laughed under my breath, hooked an arm around his neck, and whispered, "Did you sleep with him?" "Joseph." His voice carried a warning edge. Eyes storm-dark. I ignored it, tugged his shirt hem up, and slid my hand underneath with a crooked smile. I should check for myself. Tonight, Matthew was acting strange. He leaned in first, seeking my lips. But I turned my face away, clinging weakly to his shoulder. I asked, "Do I sleep well?" Matthew only frowned harder. Sweat ran down his jaw, dripping onto my collarbone. I narrowed my eyes, swiped a thumb over his damp chin, and arched up to meet him. "Then why can't you stop?" He didn't answer. I threw an arm over my eyes. For a second I was back on that day I locked him up, only to have him turn on me. His rage, sharp and punishing, burning through every touch. That was for David. What's it for this time? A breathless laugh escaped me. I let my mind go blank, no point chasing the answer. Time blurred until Matthew finally slowed, biting down on my neck, holding there more than a minute. When his breathing calmed, he straightened and spoke low. I didn't. Bone-deep exhaustion dulled my thoughts. I turned my head mechanically. "What?" Matthew fell silent again, stepped back, and went straight into the bathroom. When he came out freshly showered, I was propped against the headboard, smoking. He shot me a glance, disappeared into the walk-in closet, and came out with clean sheets. He set them by the window seat, then moved as if to hold me. I blocked his hand and said coolly, "No need to change them. Tonight, you're sleeping in the guest room." Matthew stood at the bedside, irritation etched between his brows. "Joseph, what game are you playing now?" I let out a quiet laugh, exhaled a stream of smoke, and finally looked up at him. "Matthew, while you were gone, I kept thinking about something. Love's supposed to go both ways. Keep giving without getting anything back. And one day it just runs dry. No matter how much I liked you at the start, 3 years is long enough to burn it out. Matthew's frown deepened. What are you saying? Through the haze of smoke, I curled my lips into a smile. You're free now. 4. Early the next morning, I spotted a sandwich and a glass of milk on the table. What a surprise. Too bad I can't stand tomatoes in sandwiches. And I hate milk. David, though he loves both. I snapped a quick photo and sent it to him. No real reason. Just a reminder to hurry up. His beloved Matthew still thinks of him. When I reached the office and sat down, Ryan knocked and stepped inside. Did you have? A sudden churn in my stomach cut him off. I gestured for him to wait and rushed straight to the bathroom. Clutching the toilet, I retched until black spots swam in my vision, metallic tang coating my mouth. By the time nothing more would come up, I pushed myself to my feet, swaying slightly. Ryan handed me a glass of warm water, steadying my back while I rinsed my mouth. When I set the cup down, he was already dabbing at my lips with a tissue. At the sink, he even reached to help wash my hands. I stopped him as our fingers brushed. Ryan, that's enough. He froze, stiffened, and stepped back at once, voice low. Sorry. Only the sound of running water filled the space. I sighed, about to say something, then caught Ryan's gaze in the mirror. He was staring at the edge of my collar, where a coin-sized mark lay faint against my skin. I lowered my eyes and finished washing up. Ryan, what did you want to ask me earlier? He didn't answer, even when I shut off the tap. Ryan? I called again, louder. The lost puppy look broke, and he jerked his eyes away. I just wanted to ask if you'd eaten breakfast. Back at my desk, I saw a stacked thermal lunchbox waiting. I pointed at it. You brought that for me? Yeah. You made it yourself? I messed it up the last couple days. Today it finally turned out decent. I didn't reply right away, and he moved to take it back. I stopped him with a raised hand. Leave it. Huh? Ryan's bewildered face made me laugh. I patted his shoulder. Thanks. I'm not hungry yet. I'll eat when I am. Amazing. His gray eyes lit up like someone flipped a switch. I teased. Hey, are you hiding stars in your eyes? Why are they sparkling like that? He blinked, lips parting as if to speak, ears burning red. Whatever he meant to say. He swallowed it and slipped out quickly. The whole morning passed in a rush. Ryan's breakfast ended up as my lunch. I opened the container. Layer by layer, yam porridge, black rice cakes, mincemeat egg custard. 5. Near the end of the workday, a payment reminder from the nursing home arrived. Perfect timing. My last stop today was there anyway. When I reached the parking lot, Ryan was waiting beside my car. The driver said his kid's school had a parent event this afternoon. He asked me to cover for him. The driver had mentioned this at lunch, and I'd told him to just go, so I didn't expect a substitute. I tossed the keys to Ryan. He caught them, unlocked the door, and immediately opened the passenger side for me. I raised an eyebrow where I stood. Ryan froze, clearly realizing his mistake, then scrambled to open the back door instead. I tilted my head with a faint smile, reached over to tap his hand, and slid into the passenger seat. Forget it. Get in the car. Across from the nursing home was a flower shop. Ryan asked if I wanted to buy a bouquet. I waved it off. No point bringing flowers to someone who can only move his eyes. Inside the room, an attendant was wiping Lucas's face. I sent him out, dragged a chair over, and sat at the bedside. 3 years ago, Lucas glared at me with fire in his eyes. Now, he just looked at me blankly. Dad, I came to pay your fees. Can't you smile at me? His clouded eyes brimmed with hatred. He shut them to shut me out. I smiled faintly, took the cloth, and wiped his hands myself. What right do you have to hate me? When I was 13, my mother died. The day after her funeral, Lucas brought another woman and her son into our home. I'd seen the older one before, in my mother's hospital room, driving her to repeated heart attacks. The younger one was David, only a year below me, because I refused to call him brother. Lucas kicked me hard enough to leave a lasting stomach injury. Whenever David came home teary-eyed from being bullied at school, I got beaten for not protecting my little brother. The list goes on and on. Before 16, I couldn't figure out how they always found a reason to hit and curse me. After 16, when they threw me out, I understood it was all just a means to an end. I learned from them. When I turned 18, I used the trust fund my mother left me to buy a small gaming studio. I drank, bargained, built connections, and didn't care about dignity or health, only about one goal. One day, I'd swallow Lucas's company whole. 3 years ago, I did it. On his way to confront me, Lucas got into a car accident and ended up like this. I picked up the same cloth and wiped his face. At some point, it slipped, covering his nose and mouth. Lucas's eyes snapped open, filling with fear. "Dad, last night I dreamed of Mom." I said softly. She asked if I'd kept her garden alive. I pressed the cloth down gently, smiling. "What garden?" "The day you brought that woman home. She had everything torn out. I went to her, demanded to know why, and she said she had allergies. And you?" My smile vanished. "You slapped me and made me apologize to her. But every birthday, every holiday, you gave her flowers. So many flowers." Lucas's face darkened to a sick purple. "Dad, can you feel what it's like to choke?" My voice dropped cold. "That woman tormented my mother until the day she died. What you feel now isn't even a fraction of her pain." I let the cloth fall. Lucas gasped like a drowning man. After a long moment, I stood, dropping a bank card onto the blanket. "This is the last time I'll visit you. From now on, whether you, her, or David live or die has nothing to do with me." 6. The door to the room had been ajar the whole time. When I opened it, I caught sight of Ryan quickly turning his back. I stood there, calmly wiping my fingers with the handkerchief. A shadow fell over me. "You left your phone in the car," Ryan said nervously. "Matthew's been calling nonstop, so I thought I'd bring it up." "You heard everything?" "Yes." I stood guard at the door. No one else will know what happened today. I hesitated for a beat, tossed the handkerchief in the trash, and looked him straight in the eye. After 3 seconds, I smiled faintly. "Good work." Ryan visibly relaxed and handed over the phone. I slipped it into my pocket as I walked. "Ryan, I'm planning to move soon. Find me a moving company." I stopped, reconsidered. "Forget it. It's just my stuff. I'll handle it myself." "You're moving out alone?" Ryan asked, eyes brightening briefly before dimming again. "You're not living with Matthew anymore?" Ryan's gaze flickered with something like hope. "So you're single now?" I laughed under my breath. Before I could change the subject, my phone rang. "Matthew." I hesitated, then answered. "What is it? Why didn't you pick up earlier?" I frowned, about to hang up, when his voice came again. "Joseph, I need to tell you something." "Say it." "You should apologize to David's mother." My fingers clenched unconsciously. I gave a short, sharp laugh. "For what?" 3 years ago, you used her to threaten David into breaking up with me. It's over now, but I still think you should apologize." "Is that all?" "Yes." "When are you off work?" I made dinner. I actually laughed. "Matthew, do you know who's been paying for David and his mother to live comfortably these past years? Me. And even if one day I did send that woman to an institution, it would have been nothing more than what she owed me. And you don't call me again. Whatever was between us is over." 7. From the nursing home to the parking lot. Ryan kept a careful eye on my expression. Once in the car, I instructed, "Drive me to the hotel first. Then you can drive home." After I buckled my seatbelt, Ryan froze, unsure of what to do next. I tilted my head to watch him. He caught my gaze, turned to meet it, and said, "You shouldn't be staying alone in a hotel right now." I paused for 2 seconds, then teased. "What? Afraid I might do something reckless?" "No, I'm afraid no one would be there if your stomach hurts. I don't need anyone to take care of me. Just drive. But I want to take care of you. I want to take you home." In the silence between us, I felt myself giving in first. Ryan's gaze was too honest, too open, full of feelings I couldn't respond to or bear. I looked past him, voice even. "Ryan, since you know my situation, you should cut your losses." But I don't see liking you as a loss. I closed my eyes. One word popped into my mind, stubborn. Ryan, if you don't listen to me now, you'll suffer later. A laugh fell near my ear. Are you thinking about my future? I get it. You don't want to owe anyone, even someone who's hurt you. You settle accounts fairly, right? I turned my head, frowning. Ryan smiled. Unchanged. But everything I do is my choice. Even if you can't give me the same back. You don't owe me anything. No guilt. No burden. I scowled. Are you stupid? He returned a bright smile. I'm not. I know what I'm doing and can foresee the outcome. I used to just watch. But now, if I have to watch again, I'll go crazy. I shot him a sideways glance. What happens if you go crazy? He shrugged. Don't know. But you won't be able to bear watching me lose it. Don't care what I think. Treat me as a friend. Or a subordinate showing devotion. All right? I didn't answer. Ryan unbuckled, leaned close, and gently shook my arm. Please. I sighed, looking at him. Do you know what you're acting like? No. But I saw you soften for a second, he said, pointing toward my eyes from across the space. Silence stretched. I lowered my gaze. Ryan. HM. Just friends. Okay. He nodded obediently. Okay. The car rolled forward. Ryan started chatting casually. Did you notice? We talked a lot just now. And I didn't use sir once. Seems so. Want to know why? Why? Because it's after work. I chuckled. He tilted his head. Voice teasing. Doesn't matter after work. You're still my boss. I smirked, closing my eyes. After this, just call me by my name. Joseph? But I want to call you Brode. Suit yourself. Ryan's voice held a laugh. Bro. 8. Ryan's apartment was clean, spacious, and bright. The balcony was full of green plants. He carefully labeled each pot and had a leather-bound notebook on the plant stand, recording watering and fertilizing schedules. I crouched in front of a thriving orchid and couldn't help but smile. He had sent many orchids to my office before, always claiming it was just a lucky sale at a flower shop. A phone ringing pulled me back. Matthew. I hung up immediately and blocked him. Back in the living room, Ryan brought me a warm glass of water and hurried back to the kitchen. I considered helping but stopped when I heard him speaking on the phone. Haven't eaten yet. I'm cooking. But I need to make dinner for 2 tonight. Yes. It's him. Quickly. Congratulate me. I finally brought him home. No. Don't come. I'm afraid you'll scare him away. Mom, can Aunt Wong help for a couple of days? Or just give me a recipe. Something nutritious and easy to digest. Taste can't be bad either. Got it. I'm learning. Okay. Take it to Dad. Bye. He hung up and started cooking. I paused at the doorway, thinking better of going in. An hour later, he called me to eat. 3 dishes and a soup, scrambled eggs with chives, boiled shrimp, stir-fried romaine, and winter melon with meatball soup. After tasting each, he asked, Good, bro. I quietly ate, and after a while he asked again, Is your stomach feeling okay? I realized I might have looked too serious, and smiled. I'm fine. Eat. After dinner, he asked, Bro, do you want to say something to me? I thought a moment. Ryan, how do you usually treat your friends? That depends which kind. Drinking buddies, casual friends, close friends. I became serious. And me? 4th type. What? He looked at me steadily, smiling. A new category just created today. I frowned, opening my mouth. But Ryan stuffed a piece of hawthorn cake into my mouth, grinning recklessly. So, bro, this is my first time having a friend like you. Forgive me if I don't do it perfectly. 9. My stomach had been hurting a lot last night. I only barely fell asleep just before dawn. So when Ryan knocked in the morning, I didn't hear a thing. He panicked and opened the door. Rushing in, seeing my pale face, he went completely silent. He crouched by the bed, trembling as he reached out a finger to check my breath. I extended my hand from under the blanket, grabbed his finger, tossed it aside, and slowly opened my eyes. Disaster. I nearly made him cry, His eyes were red. Still a little foggy-headed. I didn't think. Just raised a hand to his face, rubbing lightly under his eye with my fingertip. You're alive. Don't cry. He immediately stopped the tears, though his face flushed little by little. Great. I had made him shy again. I smiled helplessly, withdrew my hand to cover my eyes, and said lazily, Go out first. I'll get up soon. Because of this, we almost arrived late to work. Traffic was heavy, and by the time we reached the company parking lot, we were 20 minutes late. Are you going to dock my pay? Ryan's serious expression made me laugh. He unbuckled and said, Dock it. Have HR add me too. The moment I stepped out, the smile vanished. Matthew came around from behind a car, dark-faced, bloodshot eyes. You. Seeing Matthew, Ryan also fell silent. With a bang, he closed the car door and ran to block me fully. Bro, I don't know why you broke up with him, but you clearly ended it. Him coming to block you is his fault. Just say the word. I'll help you beat him up. Ryan was already in attack mode. I tugged at his half-raised arm. Nothing. Exasperated, I pinched the back of his neck. Bro, go upstairs first. But he looks dangerous. I smiled. If he moves, I'll move too. Don't worry. You go upstairs first. Listen. Okay. Reluctantly, Ryan left, glancing back every few steps. Once he entered the elevator, I turned to Matthew. What do you want? Why didn't you answer my call? Why would I answer your call? You spent last night with your assistant? Is that any of your business? Joseph, I waited for you all night. I sneered. So, did I ask you to wait? A PhD, and you don't understand what over means? Matthew no longer had his usual calm. His chest heaved. Steps heavy. Joseph, why does ending it mean it's over? Oh, what do you want then? We were tangled to begin with. Now I give you your freedom. You should be happy. No, it's not like that. Matthew stumbled over words. Agitated. It's not right. I didn't mean freedom. You were too sudden. Joseph, why so sudden? I frowned. Incredulous. Sudden. Matthew, I waited 3 days. Or rather, I waited 3 years. Matthew's serious expression faltered briefly. I didn't want to say more. Turned to leave, but he suddenly grabbed my arm. He drew in 2 deep breaths and forced out. Joseph, I can explain. Those 3 days, nothing happened with him. Listen to me. Does it concern me? I pulled my arm free, smiling lightly. Matthew, I said it clearly that night. I had no feelings for you. Even that night in bed. I felt nothing. I am certain. I don't love you at all. The color drained from Matthew's face. His Adam's apple rolling several times. Joseph, you can't do this. You forced me back then. Yes, I forced you back then. But now I give you freedom. Don't I? So why come back saying strange things? Matthew tensed. Silent. I raised an eyebrow and nodded slightly. Understood. Wanting compensation. Huh. Fine. The apartment you live in is worth $30 million. Yours. Joseph. A roar cut through the air. I watched him calmly. No money? Fine. Then what do you want? 2 seconds of silence. I arched an eyebrow. Could it be, you want me to love you? Matthew's pupils constricted sharply, like a scorpion's sting. I laughed, dripping with mockery. Waving my hand, I turned and left. The apartment is yours. Consider it mental anguish compensation. From now on, nothing owed between us. 10. I barely sat down in the office when Ryan burst in like a gust of wind. He grabbed my shoulders, lifted me from the chair, and began feeling me up and down. What are you doing? His hands traced all the way down to my ankles and back, even touching my palms and the backs of my hands. Finally, Ryan exhaled. Good thing you're okay. I smiled helplessly. All that rush just for this? Yes, you endure pain too well. You seem fine, but I still worry. He placed warm palms on my stomach. How here? Pain. I shook my head slightly. He moved his hand to my chest. How here? Ryan's gaze was like a clear, pristine spring. In a heartbeat, I understood. No pain, just emptiness. I forced a smile, pushed his hand away. and sat back. Stop thinking nonsense. Get back to work. He lowered his head, muttering, "Oh," but didn't move. I glanced at him. Anything else? Yes. Say it. He cleared his throat, voice soft. Last night I ordered you some clothes and shoes. They'll arrive at my place by 7 tonight. Also tonight, a lady will cook at my place. She cooks very well. His voice trailed off. I lifted an eyelid. So, will you come back to my place tonight? I put down the documents, looking at him with a half smile. You want to take care of me? He shook his head. No, just as friends. Friends. I chewed on the word, leaning back in the chair, expressionless. How long do you plan to take care of me? Until you don't need me anymore. When that day comes, will you cry? No, but you cried this morning. Ryan, you have eyes that don't lie. We locked eyes. He lowered his eyelids, long lashes shading his dark, wet pupils. After a long silence, he breathed out, a bitter smile on his lips. Bro, I know I can't lie to you, but if I had listened, stayed away, I'd regret it forever. In fact, not just that day. I'd cry every day if I could only watch and do nothing. I'd keep thinking about you. Crying if you couldn't eat. Crying if you couldn't sleep. Crying if you were in pain with no one around. This morning I cried because I regretted not meeting you before him. I still have so much to tell you. Trips we haven't taken. Family you haven't met. Things we haven't done. Bro, I don't need an outcome. I just want to spend every day by your side. Being by my side won't make you cry. Ryan looked up sharply, too involved in his words. He hadn't noticed me approach. Bro. He held my hand, wiping his tears, eyes red-rimmed and glistening. Bro, did you soften your heart for me again? I didn't speak. After 2 seconds, I looked away and used my other hand to wipe his jawline. Ryan suddenly laughed, pulling me into his arms, chin on my shoulder, heartbeat pressing against my chest. Bro, I'm so happy. I lifted my hand, then set it down softly. Noted. 11. I had been staying at Ryan's for a week. Surprisingly, a sense of leisure had crept in. The workload decreased every day. Half was handed to Sophia, the company's second-in-command, and half to Ryan. I discovered unexpectedly that Ryan's analytical and decision-making skills were quite impressive. I had always thought of him only as a good assistant. Now I considered that maybe he could be a good boss too. Bro, I'm a bit tired, Ryan said, lifting his head from a huge pile of documents, his eyes dull. I added some tea and pushed the cup toward him. Learned everything I taught you today? He grabbed the cup, leaned back boldly in his chair, sipping while sighing. Learned it. So this is what being a boss feels like, dealing with so much every day. It's not easy. I glanced at him lightly, hinting. So, you don't want to be a boss? Then who inherits your family company? Ryan looked at me, waving a hand. My older brother and sister-in-law run the family business. My dad hasn't retired yet. The only place I'm useful is R&D. Didn't expect that. Bro, I even secretly earn extra on the side. I remember your major was software engineering. Companies in this field. Your dad is Carter? His eyes lit up for a moment. You know him? I nodded. Yes, a very famous entrepreneur. Ryan perked up. My dad's Carter. My older brother Hunter. My mom Victoria. Sister-in-law Nora. Plus grandparents. All of them know you. I laughed lightly. Know me how? Ryan's gaze flickered shyly. He muttered. They know I like you. I was silent for a moment, then asked softly. They don't object? Ryan frowned. Of course not. They like you too. My brother has always admired you. My parents even asked yesterday when I'd bring you home for dinner. Oh, and those clothes I secretly bought for you? Half were chosen by my sister-in-law. Listening, I couldn't help but zone out. Ryan suddenly came over, spun my chair, and crouched halfway. Bro, what's wrong? His slightly anxious voice brought me back. I smiled. Nothing, just not used to receiving so much affection all at once. He placed his hands on my knees, looking a little dejected. Bro, am I adding mental burden to you? I laughed silently, grabbing his arm. I stood. What nonsense. Go pack up. It's time to leave. His moods came fast and left fast. Soon, he was back to cheerful, like a little puppy. On the way home, he dragged me to a supermarket. After paying and heading to the parking lot, he suddenly leaned close to my ear. Bro, I feel someone is following us. I stopped and looked around. No suspicious person in sight. After dinner, Ryan pulled me to a nearby park for a walk. Soon, I sensed something was off. Indeed, someone was following us. Ryan and I exchanged a glance, forming a guess. Bro, do you think it's him? Not sure. The apartment I had promised Matthew, I'd already instructed the lawyer to transfer it. He had no reason to come back. I tugged at Ryan's sleeve. Let's go. Stroll a bit more. But not far. A sharp twist of pain hit my stomach. I froze. Frowning, Ryan glanced at me, immediately crouched, and carried me on his back. It felt like someone was tearing at my stomach. I leaned weakly against him. The warmth in front contrasted with the cold, sticky feeling of someone watching behind me. In a daze, I seemed to hear someone calling Joseph. 12. The painkillers were losing effect. Ryan stayed with me most of the night. The next morning, Ryan squatted by my bed and asked, Bro, can I wear sunglasses to work today? I opened my eyes, blinked a few times, then removed the sunglasses from his face. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Ryan's dog-like eyes were swollen into a sad frog shape. I sighed, turned my hand over, and lightly touched him. Didn't you say being by my side means no crying? He grabbed my hand, bowed his head, and muttered, feeling useless. HM. Ryan lifted his head suddenly. I curved my lips. Can I call you that? He looked at me and nodded blankly. I sat up, grabbed the sunglasses, and put them on him. Don't speak self-deprecatingly. You're very capable, both as my assistant and as my friend. I'm satisfied. This morning, go to the office to hand over work to Sophia. Take the system to request leave in the afternoon. I'll approve it. Then come back and rest. Okay. After Ryan left, I tidied up and called the lawyer. He had been following me for nearly 10 years, trustworthy. I spent the morning organizing my assets. Some important documents were still in the apartment promised to Matthew. Lawyer, has the deed been processed? He nodded. Just got it yesterday. I put it at the office. Should I deliver it to Matthew this afternoon? No. After you return to the office, give it to Ryan. He'll bring it to me. Got it. Around 6 that evening, Ryan returned. As soon as he walked in, he came up close to me. Bro, are you back to normal? I pinched his face, looking him over. Feels like you've softened a bit? He chuckled. That's right, to reduce swelling. My sister-in-law took me to a beauty salon for a facial mask. Smug little pup. In a blink, Ryan hugged me from behind, stopping me from leaving. Bro, what were you muttering just now? Nothing. I grabbed the apartment deed from his hands. Expressionless. Complimenting you. Let go. I have to go out. Don't wait for dinner. But Ryan didn't listen. He grabbed the car keys and strode ahead. I'll take you. 13. I told Ryan to wait downstairs. Upstairs. I paused at the door for a minute before pressing the doorbell. It rang 3 times, no answer. Hesitating for 2 seconds, I tried the fingerprint lock. The door opened. The room was dim, the layout unchanged. Even my slippers were in the same place. But the moment I stepped inside, the strong smell of alcohol hit me. I raised my hand to turn on the light and stepped further in. Matthew was slumped against the bar. Empty bottles scattered around him. His expression desolate, eyes bloodshot. There was no trace left of his former gentle elegance. He lifted his eyes and croaked. You're back. I frowned. At this hour, Matthew should have just gotten off work. Didn't you go to work today? The words slipped out before I could stop myself, instantly regretting it. I shouldn't have said anything. Yes, I've been waiting for you. I paused, ignoring him, and went straight to the study. Everything was in the safe. I packed the documents into a folder, and, when I came out, Matthew was blocking the doorway. I put on a stern expression. Excuse me. Matthew didn't move. His dark gaze slowly traveled over me. You've lost weight. I looked elsewhere, repeating coldly, "Excuse me." Matthew ignored me and even stepped forward. "Joseph, I know how those 3 days felt for you. Hard, hopeless, painful." Hearing his murmurs, my irritation grew. My stomach began to cramp again, fiercely. I took a deep breath, forcing my patience. "The deed is on the table. If you're drunk, go sleep. Don't block." "Joseph." Matthew's face tensed, pain twisting his features. "I don't want the deed. I don't want compensation. I don't want any of it." Patience gone, pain escalating. I inhaled deeply and tried to bypass him. "If you don't want it, just throw it let." Suddenly, my arm was grabbed forcefully. Matthew stared at me, enunciating each word. "Joseph, I don't want anything. I just want you back." I closed my eyes, gripping my own hand to stay calm. "Matthew, I'm not in the mood for jokes right now." "I'm not joking." Matthew's yell stunned me. His strength felt as if he might crush my arm. "Joseph, come back. We can talk it out. Any misunderstanding can be cleared." "Talk? What is there to talk about?" My emotions and pain peaked, and I shouted, "It's over. Can't you understand? I don't love you. Matthew, it's over." "Don't love?" Matthew repeated the words slowly, a strange smile in his eyes. "Joseph, we've been together 3 years. How can you just stop loving me? Because of Ryan, right?" I glared at him, furious. "Nonsense." Matthew now looked like a deranged man, his twisted smile horrifying. I struggled to pull my arm free, but he gripped both my wrists. "Joseph, you said you had no feelings for me. Then who do you have feelings for? Ryan. You have a new choice. So you're kicking me away, right? But I won't agree. I won't agree." Suddenly, he pulled me further inside. "What are you doing, Matthew?" My vision blurred as he threw me onto the sofa, his knees parting my legs. Leaning down. "What am I doing? You said you didn't feel anything. Let's find the feeling again. I was gone 3 days. You 10 days. We're even now. No one mentions it again. We. Matthew." I slapped him with all my strength. "Wake the hell up." He paused for a second, tilting his face while holding down my lower body, grabbing my shirt. I'm wide awake. The shirt buttons popped off with a snap. The sound of buttons hitting the floor hammered my eardrums. Suddenly, I seemed to lose the ability to speak. Hands were exploring me without restraint. Warm, sticky contact along my neck. Teeth biting my skin like venom injected coldly. Pain drained all my strength. Anger assaulted my nerves. I felt on the verge of collapse. Those hands moved to my lower body. My stomach convulsed as if pierced by thousands of steel needles. I wanted to curl up, but Matthew pressed me down, holding me firmly. Every breath smelled of blood. Without warning, something surged from my throat. I clamped my mouth, tasting the metallic sweetness as it flooded my mouth, spilling through my fingers. Down my hand, I weakly pushed him, voice forced from my throat. "Get off." The blood stank and spread. Matthew froze, staring blankly at me. "Get out." Bang. The door slammed open. I slowly turned to see Ryan at the doorway. Shock stole his voice as he took in the scene. Locking eyes with me, he dashed forward, yanking Matthew to the floor, shaking as he held me. "Bro, you were just going to get your stuff. How did it turn into this?" "I'm sorry. Bro, I shouldn't have let you go up alone." Tears streamed down Ryan's face. I wanted to speak, to comfort him, but a mouthful of blood erupted, staining his white shirt. I scrambled to wipe it off, making it worse. I curled my fingers, shrinking back, panicked, gasping. Blood kept overflowing. Impossible to stop. I turned my face, struggling to move out of the way. Ryan wrapped me tightly against him, his strong arms trembling uncontrollably. "Bro, don't run away." "Okay." A hot tear fell from his jaw onto my forehead. Then a second, third, washing the blood from my face. I almost forgot he wouldn't mind me being dirty. I stopped struggling, leaning against his chest, limp, clutching his sleeve weakly. I mumbled, Go. Matthew got up from the floor, eyes vacant, mechanically trying to follow. "Get lost." Ryan kicked Matthew hard. "You better pray he's okay." 14. Matthew still went to the hospital. He stood outside the ER like a walking corpse, occasionally glancing at Ryan. Finally, he couldn't take it and numbly walked up. Joseph, what happened to him? Ryan was half covered in blood, seeing Matthew's face. His anger surged, grabbing his collar and raising a fist. But then he remembered Joseph was still on the operating table. Life uncertain. Instantly, he felt a crushing ache. Gritting his teeth, he lowered his fist and shoved Matthew away. Voice controlled. You should have thought about that call he made to you. Matthew's numb mind began to turn, and a clear, cold voice echoed. Matthew, I was diagnosed with cancer. The doctor said. What did the doctor say? He hadn't even finished listening, letting David interrupt. Matthew staggered, pale as paper, kneeling as if his spine had been hollowed out. Thinking about what he had done to Joseph tonight, he slapped himself hard. Memories of the past 3 years surged like a tide. He had indeed resented Joseph for forcing himself into his feelings. Yet Joseph silently endured all his anger and venting. Not a single day in 3 years had he treated him badly. The words in surgery glared red. Only now did Matthew admit he had been holding on to Joseph's past mistakes while enjoying Joseph's devoted love. He had grown accustomed to Joseph's sacrificial affection, wanting Joseph to love him fiercely forever. So he deliberately used cold violence to control, shamefully used David to test, manipulative in emotions to dominate. In truth, he was the one who had been ruthless. 15. The surgical lights went out. The ER doors opened from the inside as the staff wheeled the unconscious Joseph out, heading for the ICU. Ryan hurriedly followed, not noticing the wandering, ghost-like Matthew trailing behind. When the medical team stepped out of the ICU, Ryan's older brother arrived with the whole family. Ryan exhaled slightly, stepping aside to let them in, while he followed the chief physician to the office. 20 minutes later, Ryan returned, his heart sinking to the floor. He saw Matthew standing at the doorway and instantly flew into a rage, pushing him back. What are you still doing here? Ryan was like a fully alert wolf, eyes dark, fists clenched with audible pressure. Matthew, oblivious, spoke slowly. I want to go in and see him. See him? What right do you have to see him now? Matthew stared at the small glass window on the ICU door, answering without hesitation. I love him. Those 3 words completely enraged Ryan. He grabbed Matthew by the collar and dragged him to the stairwell. You better say that again. Matthew lifted his eyelids, eyes calm as water. I love him. No hesitation. Ryan punched him in the face, voice shaking with anger. You love him. When he gave himself to you completely, why didn't you say you loved him? When he was healthy, why didn't you say it? When he called you from the hospital, why didn't you say it? With each question, Ryan hammered another punch, eyes red with rage, grief and fury overwhelming any concern for Matthew's safety. And now that he's sick, you know you love him. He doesn't want you. And now you know you love him? Who the hell gave you the right to say you love him? Matthew had been hanging lifelessly under the blows. But when Ryan said right, it seemed to strike a nerve. Suddenly, he fought back, landing a punch at the corner of Ryan's mouth. What right do you have? Since you knew he was sick, why didn't you get him treated? What right do you have to talk about love? Ryan, almost laughing at the absurdity, pressed his injured mouth against Matthew's bent leg and kicked him again. Do you think I didn't want to? Do you understand how painful the treatment is? Without family or friends, it's a torment with slim hope, less than a 30% chance of survival. Most likely, it just tortures him for nothing. He is very tolerant of pain, but he never said he wasn't afraid. He entrusted his remaining trust and dependence to you. And what did you do? You let someone else curse him to die. And that someone else your first love, right? His mother caused Joseph's mother's death. And what did you do? You made Joseph apologize to his mother? Matthew, barely standing against the wall from Ryan's earlier kick, finally collapsed to his knees, tears falling uncontrollably. He realized he truly had no right to say those 3 words. All he could say now was sorry. 16. I regained consciousness the next evening. Opening my eyes, I saw a beautiful woman. Her features were familiar, her smile even more so. I curved my lips. Hello, Auntie. And you too. Darling. Darling. No one had called me that in nearly 20 years. In a daze, Victoria went to the balcony, gently patting Ryan, who had just hung up the phone, and quietly asked, "What did your uncle say?" Ryan tilted slightly, brow furrowed. He said it's difficult, and he must see you in person. Victoria patted his arm reassuringly. Go in. He's awake. Ryan immediately turned his head, and when our eyes met, he smiled. Mom, you can go. I've got him here. Victoria looked at me, pointing to the thermos on the bedside table, gesturing for soup, then waved goodbye. I was about to sit up when Ryan crouched beside the bed, slipping his hand into the blanket to hold mine. Bro, are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? I shook my head, eyes lingering on his mouth. Did you fight? Ryan paused for a second, then spoke frankly. Yeah, in the stairwell. I paid for the medical expenses, but he refused. I smiled faintly, changing the topic. What did the doctor say about my condition? The doctor said your vomiting blood was mainly from stress. You'll recover quickly. You know that's not what I'm asking. Ryan lowered his head, eyelashes trembling, Adam's apple rolling before he spoke. The doctor said it's already metastasized. Without treatment, at most 3 months. I squeezed Ryan's hand, smiling softly. 3 months, that's a long time. Silence stretched. Ryan lifted his head, voice choking. Bro, are you sure? I reached out, gently brushing the tear from his eye. Yes, I don't want to gamble anymore. 17. The next day, several senior executives from the company visited. I only told Sophia the truth. Even her, usually efficient and unsmiling, had tears in her eyes. I made an unusual request. Sophia, Ryan will eventually become the company's largest shareholder, but he doesn't like worrying about things. Most likely, he'll be a hands-off owner. I'll need you to handle company affairs. Afterwards, I handed her a prepared card, a small token of thanks for your hard work. Sophia, one hand holding her bag, the other behind her back, didn't reach for it. Don't worry. You raised me. I know what to do. She wiped her eyes and left without looking back. I sighed and handed the card to the lawyer beside me. Give it to her when you can. On the third day, I received a call from an unknown number. Recognizing David's voice, I hung up immediately. But that afternoon, he appeared at the hospital door. He couldn't enter because Matthew was guarding the room non-stop since waking. They seemed to argue. Hearing the escalating quarrel, I asked Ryan to call David in. David stood stiffly, almost ghost-like. You're not stopping him. Dad. I remained expressionless. If I remember correctly, I gave him a card with $1 million inside. What? Did you two spend it all already? David's gaze flickered. What card? I never saw one. I smiled lightly. If there wasn't one, then there wasn't. Time's up. Out. Joseph. Money can't be taken to the grave. Better give it to someone useful. Ryan tensed, but I blocked him and spoke evenly. Useful. What use are you? Studying abroad cost $20 million. I gave it to you. What did you do with it? Change partners every 2 months. Partying out of control? Do you dare tell the person at the door your true reason for returning? David's pupils constricted. I smiled gently. My money can't go into the coffin, but I could send you to rehab. Want to try? David's face drained of color, panic in his eyes, shouting feebly. Joseph, don't scare me. You'll get your revenge sooner or later. Before he finished, Matthew burst in and dragged him out. Half an hour later, Ryan glanced outside and gave me a signal. I nodded. Let him go too. 2 minutes later, Ryan came back, crouching beside the bed. Bro, he won't leave. Then let him stay. Ryan was silent for 2 seconds, then said, he asked me to deliver a message too. What? He said sorry. I glanced at the doorway, then back, and quietly said, noted. On the last day of hospitalization, I sorted all my work in the morning and had Ryan hand it over to Sophia for the handover. In the afternoon, while Ryan was out, I called the lawyer to draft my will. The lawyer handed me the asset list for review. I smiled quietly, realizing just how much I had accumulated in this half-life. What are your wishes? I closed the list. Calm. After I die, all assets under my name will be gifted to Ryan. 18. The next day, I was discharged. I saw Matthew, who had been waiting outside the door, his face still bruised. We exchanged a silent glance. He kept a 5-step distance behind us, following quietly. At the parking lot, he watched me get into the car. The window was halfway down. Hesitating for a few seconds, I turned my head toward him. Matthew's face was streaked with tears. He took a stiff step forward and whispered one word. I. Then broke down completely. After a few seconds, he staggered back a step, eyes blurry, struggling to speak. Joseph, goodbye. I nodded lightly. Goodbye. Between us, this was how it had to end. 19. Ryan said he wanted to take me somewhere scenic. After a 3-hour drive, we arrived. A farmhouse perched halfway up a mountain, his grandparents' home. After lunch, Ryan showed me around. On one hilltop, he spread his arms and swept the view, exclaiming grandly, "All these tea fields belong to our family." I laughed softly and asked where the scenic water was. He took me around the back door and pointed to a fish pond. There. I think it's pretty. I raised an eyebrow. Are there fishing rods? Ryan's eyes gleamed mischievously. My grandpa has some inside. I'll borrow one worth $200,000 for you. And he actually brought it. Grandpa handed it over himself. But after only a short while, rain started. We returned to the front yard, sitting under the eaves watching the rain. Ryan said he'd get me a jacket from his room. As he left, Grandma carried a small table in one hand and a large plate of fried fish in the other toward me. Soon, she brought fried meatballs and lotus root pockets. By the 4th plate, she collided with Ryan coming down the wooden stairs. Frowning, Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder and said, "Grandma, his stomach isn't good. Don't give him all this oily food. What else should he eat?" Grandma elbowed Ryan, anxious. "He's so thin. I feel for him. Lunch was so little. What can he eat? I'll make something else. Don't worry. Too much will upset him. When he's better, you can make him 8 meals a day." "Okay." Grandma elbowed him again. I lowered my head, smiling, and took a small fried fish, chewing slowly. It was delicious. As I reached for a second one, a jacket landed on my shoulder. Ryan was behind me, leaning down and stealing the fish from my hand. I shot him a sideways glance. "Get your own if you want it." Ryan laughed, handing me a napkin to wipe my hands. "You said your stomach hurt while fishing. Now you're eating again?" "Yeah, it's too good, even if it hurts. I want it. Otherwise, I might not get another chance." 20. Ryan's bedroom was unexpectedly cozy. I leaned against the doorframe, watching him expertly change the sheets. "Are you sure you want me to sleep in the same bed?" Ryan shook the blanket. "Yes, you're not a guest. Of course you sleep here. And I can know immediately if you're uncomfortable at night. And then," Ryan turned with a bright smile, "then I can massage you." Grandma said it, and she even gave me a hot water bag. I smiled silently. After showering and lying down, Ryan placed the hot water bag between us, covering my hand to check the temperature. "Bro, is it warm?" "Yes," but the hand on mine was warmer. I leaned to the side to sleep. When I woke naturally in the morning, an arm was wrapped around my waist. I was fully in Ryan's embrace. When I became fully aware, I noticed heat at my lower back. One moment, I thought it was the hot water bag. The next, I realized something was off. A hot water bag couldn't be this firm. I closed my eyes, smiling helplessly. After a while, I felt my neck being sniffed, and my lower back brushed. After the 3rd touch, the person behind stiffened. The next moment, Ryan jumped up and ran into the bathroom. I only sat up when I heard the bathroom door open. "Bro, aren't you going back to sleep?" Ryan's face was still red. I lowered my gaze and smiled faintly. "No, I woke up from the warmth. Then I'll go downstairs to make breakfast." He ran off. I glanced up just in time to see the tips of his ears flushed red. Early morning. My little warm, red puppy. 21. The mountain life was quiet. One day with Grandma picking tea. Another day fishing with Grandpa. The next exploring with Ryan. Half a month passed without me realizing it. If it weren't for the sudden vomiting this morning, I'd almost forgotten I had only 2 or 3 months left. When Ryan came upstairs to call me for breakfast, I had just cleaned the sink. Looking at him in the mirror, I softly asked, "Can I skip breakfast this morning?" Ryan looked away, taking a dry towel to wipe my hands. "Okay, skip it." After leaving the bathroom, he said he'd go downstairs for something. I nodded, curling up on the sofa to wait. Half asleep, I heard the door open. Opening my eyes, I saw Ryan squatting in front of me. His eyes were red, nose red as well. I looked away, whispering, "What did you go downstairs for?" Ryan raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Got you some leisure reading." He handed me a brown leather notebook. My mom sent it over. It arrived this morning. I took it, flipping the cover, smiling. "What's written inside?" Ryan pressed his lips together, a little embarrassed. He stood, grabbed a thin blanket for me, and mumbled softly, "Read it yourself." 22. The first page read, "I hate writing, but I like writing Joseph's name very much." Below it were hundreds of repetitions of Joseph. I traced them with my finger, counting one by one, page after page. A total of 1,097. Then the main text began. Number 1. Today was a good day. He came to our school for a presentation. He only appeared briefly on stage before moving into the audience. And coincidentally, he sat next to me. His scent was amazing, like tea leaves soaked in morning mist. He looked a little tired. Dark circles under his eyes were obvious against his fair skin. Within 5 minutes, he closed his eyes. Asleep? All right. Another 5 minutes. I openly studied him. His features were perfect, like a masterful painting, handsome yet strong. Thick long eyelashes with soft under eyes, adding warmth. A high nose, lips that looked kissable. I declared silently, "The person who suits me best in the world has appeared." Number 2. After that day, I decided to follow him. I wanted to be his assistant, but he already had one. Apologies. I had to use some methods. I secretly contacted his assistant. After consulting with my brother, I offered her a higher salary to move to my company, plus a hush fee. Everything went smoothly. The assistant resigned quickly. I submitted my resume to his company, aiming straight for the chief assistant position. After 3 rounds of interviews, including one with him, I got the job. I stayed. Number 3. He was extremely capable. Negotiating with him was exciting. Honestly, I'd pay to work in this role. When my father asked if I'd go back, I said no. I'd found the boss of my life. For life. Side note, my sister-in-law told my dad I was too happy at work, which turned into me being too idle. So the unfinished work from R&D fell to me. I understood, making full use of what's at hand. Number 4. Disaster. I discovered he had someone he was dating. Chapped lips, irritability, jealousy, borderline madness. Number 5. I couldn't take it. Today, I secretly followed him. The person with him actually seemed decent. Of course, the favored one felt entitled. Heartbroken, but I didn't want to leave. I stayed in this position to at least be near him during the day. Stay. Ryan. Okay. Number 6. After long observation, I realized he wasn't happy in this relationship. I followed him again. This time, I saw him arguing with that guy. Almost came to blows. I restrained myself, not confronting them. That night, I couldn't sleep. The more I thought, the more I realized something was wrong. His relationship with that person wasn't normal. But what could I do? I didn't even have the right to ask. Number 7. He became unhappy more often. I felt anxious. The only thing I could do was help him as much as possible during the day. He would smile at me, praise my diligence, attention to detail, sometimes on trips. If I wasn't brought, he would send gifts. Fine. Staying by him like this wasn't bad. Number 8. Unwilling. Because he wasn't happy. Daily question. When would he ditch that guy? Number 9. The sky fell. He was diagnosed with late-stage cancer. What could I do? Heartache. Insomnia. Number 10. I called my uncle. He said it was difficult too. Mom went to the temple. I went the next day. After praying, I remembered a fortune teller from childhood who said I could live to 90. I was 25. He 30. I prayed to the Buddha. Ryan, willing to trade 30 years of his life for Joseph's remaining health and peace. 23. Near noon, the door opened quietly. Ryan tiptoed in. Seeing my eyes closed, he leaned over carefully. He gently lifted my arm, put it down, and peeked under the blanket. As he was about to leave, I raised my arm to hook behind his neck and opened my eyes. What are you looking for? Ryan stayed leaned over, still, whispering. The notebook? I squinted, smiling. I confiscated it. All right. The tips of Ryan's ears flushed a faint red. His gaze was restless. Bro, don't move, I said softly, stroking his cheek. Let me look at you properly. Oh. Ryan obediently stayed still. His eyes sparkled as if hiding a tiny galaxy. After a while, I covered them with my hand and kissed through the back of my hand. His soft lashes brushed my palm. Ryan slowly squatted, eyes closed, measuring a small distance with his thumb and forefinger, whispering, Bro, do you like me even a little? I pulled my hand back, pinched and widened the space between his fingers, smiling. A little, very little. His gaze shifted from his fingers to my face. While looking, his eyes suddenly reddened. Then could you? He trailed off, tears brimming. I understood what he couldn't finish saying, but the chances of a cure were too low. I didn't want him to suffer with me for nothing. Bro. I forced a small smile and wiped his tears over my hand. I hope you live a long life. 24. Since that episode of vomiting blood, my stomach pains had grown frequent. I spent more and more time upstairs. Around the Qingming period, the rain increased. After a week of continuous rain, today was finally sunny. After washing up, Ryan came upstairs with breakfast. 6 dishes in total. Why so much? Ryan pulled out a chair for me. You didn't eat anything yesterday. Grandma asked me to make sure you got your nutrition. I raised an eyebrow. What about lunch? We'll eat. Grandma said at least 8 dishes for lunch. Okay. After half a bowl of porridge, I put down the spoon. Dazed, Ryan glanced at me silently, then finished the remaining porridge in a few bites. Too much left over to waste, he said, packing some grains. He then took me to the woods to feed the birds. By the time we returned, the sun was out. I thought we'd sit in the front yard, but Ryan blindfolded me and pushed me onward. Where are we going? I asked with a smile. He stayed quiet, mysterious. I sensed we were heading toward the backyard. When he finally stopped, he removed his hand from my eyes. Open your eyes. Bro. I slowly opened them. Next to the vegetable patch, a new flower bed had been planted. Flowers of all kinds, crowded yet arranged at varying heights. Colors too many to count. Ryan stood behind me, whispering, Bro, is it a little like the one in your memory? My throat tightened. I swallowed and found my voice. Very much. Ryan wrapped me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. Then, could you help me take care of it? My vision blurred with silence. I can't take care of it well. After a long pause, he murmured, Why? I exhaled gently, turning to him. The more you invest in me, the harder it will be to move on later. Ryan looked away. I don't understand. Never mind. I was about to leave, but he grabbed my hand. Eyes reddened. His voice choked. Bro, I know treatment is painful. I have no right to interfere with your choice. But, I raised my head, interrupting. And you? Holding on to a sliver of hope. Suffering for months. Getting nothing in the end. You'd need twice the time to recover. So you're afraid of burdening me. Right. Bro. But I love you. That isn't a burden. If cured, our future is something we've worked for together. I looked away, swallowing my sobs weakly. Cure rates are under 30%. Isn't that a burden? Ryan, you once said if you don't do something, you'd regret it forever. You've done enough now. No need to suffer through those months. You're only 25. You'll meet more. Better. Suddenly, Ryan hugged me, pressing tightly against my hairline. Hot tears soaked my collar. No more. Bro, no one else matters. You're the best in my heart. Actually, I lied. I'm greedy. I don't just want to care for you for a while. I want to care for you a lifetime. Bro, I'm begging you, can we try? Please. 25. Ryan cried for 3 days, finally softening Joseph's heart. He agreed to treatment in M country. Ryan's uncle oversaw the treatment. When Joseph's test report came, the uncle scolded them both, saying if they were a week later, they should just buy a ticket home. Ryan covered Joseph's ears. The uncle, frustrated, arranged his hospital admission. 3 highly experienced specialists were called to discuss the treatment plan. Genetic testing revealed a target in Joseph's tumor cells. Good news, a targeted drug for that marker had just been released in M country. Bad news, it had less than 10% matching rate. The uncle asked them to consider carefully. Joseph held Ryan's anxious hand under the table, smiling at the uncle. We've come this far. The next day, the treatment plan was set. Joseph's suffering began. Cramping, peeling, endless pain and vomiting. He lost weight drastically in under a month. Ryan also lost weight, Joseph thought, from crying. Every time he cleaned Joseph after vomiting, Ryan would cry silently, holding him, seeing him unable to eat. In pain, curled in spasms, Ryan cried each time. Midway, Ryan grew stronger, sensing Joseph was about to give up. Even Joseph, so determined, would silently cry staring at the ceiling. Once Ryan held him, the tears would not stop. The frail chest rose and fell gently as he whispered, "Can we stop treatment? Please." This was the only time Ryan was harsh with Joseph. No matter how Joseph begged, the answer was no. He threatened Joseph, saying if he quit, Ryan would jump into a river with a stone. Who dies first? Joseph was scared and angry, clawing at him like a cat. Cursing. Ryan laughed, agreeing, helping him curse himself too. At least the thought of quitting was gone. Joseph cried more and more, sometimes calling for his mother, sometimes even asleep. Ryan felt Joseph had emptied a lifetime of tears, including his own share. He believed enduring this meant their future would be full of smiles. The uncle excitedly reported that Joseph's lesions were shrinking. Ryan stared at the ceiling for 2 full minutes, fighting back tears. With a less than 10% matching drug, Joseph became that rare lucky case. As autumn leaves fell, treatment neared its end. When Joseph reached for food himself, Ryan's eyes watered again. Joseph caught the round tear, looked up, and smiled, eyes curved. Days slipped by. Illness hadn't broken Joseph's pride. With Ryan's care, his body slowly regained strength. One sunny day before winter, Ryan pushed Joseph to the garden to bask in the sun. Joseph squinted, relaxed, stretching toward the sun. Ryan felt the seed he planted, breaking through soil, had grown tender branches. His lover was thriving. Ryan captured the moment on his phone, printed a small photo, and tucked it in his wallet. Joseph grew healthier day by day. Medication decreased, and the uncle checked more frequently. A month later, Ryan was caught hugging Joseph tightly. Joseph winked apologetically. The uncle approved discharge immediately. Freedom came suddenly. They stayed up all night in excitement. The next day, the uncle personally saw them to the hospital entrance. Joseph's energy wasn't what it used to be. Soon after getting in the car, he yawned, leaning on Ryan's shoulder. Sunlight through the window bathed his smooth, jade-like face. Ryan looked down at the scene, completely captivated, for words echoed in his mind. Just like the first time,